Chapter 9. The Song, No Man Survives. Odysseus left Circe's island with one ship. Before his departure, Circe had warned him about the dangers ahead. The first waited on a low island surrounded by calm water. The wind weakened as the Greeks approached. The sail fell loose. Odysseus brought out a block of wax. The sailors softened it beneath the sun and pressed it into their ears. Odysseus used none. He stepped against the mast. The men bound his chest, arms, wrists, and legs with thick rope. He had already given them their orders. No matter what he did, they were not to release him. The crew began to row. At first, Odysseus heard only the water and the creaking of the ship. Then voices crossed the sea. The Sirens called him by name. They sang of Troy. They knew about the wooden horse, the men who had died, and every choice that had brought him there. They promised answers. They promised knowledge of Ithaca. They promised to reveal which men remained loyal and how Odysseus could reclaim his palace. The island drew closer. Broken ships lay against the rocks. Bones covered the shore. Odysseus saw them. Then the song made them seem unimportant. The Sirens promised that he was different from the men who had died there. He had survived the Cyclops. He had resisted Circe. He had entered the land of the dead and returned. He was clever enough to approach the shore and leave again. Odysseus believed them. He pulled against the ropes. He ordered the crew to turn. The men heard nothing. They kept rowing. Odysseus shouted and strained until the mast shook. Two sailors saw him struggling and approached. For a moment, Odysseus believed they would free him. Instead, they wrapped another rope around his body and tightened it. The ship continued past the island. Odysseus fought until the song began to weaken. The Sirens called his name one final time. Then their voices disappeared. The crew continued rowing until the island was gone. Only then did they remove the wax and release him. Odysseus had heard the song and survived. But the moment he heard it, his judgment had failed. He survived because he had created the plan before the danger reached him. He survived because his men obeyed the orders he was no longer capable of following himself. There was little time to recover. The sea ahead narrowed between two cliffs. Odysseus knew what waited there. On one side was Charybdis. The sea collapsed into a vast whirlpool that could drag the entire ship beneath the water. On the other side was Scylla. She waited high within the rocks and would seize men from any ship that passed too close. There was no route between them. If Odysseus sailed toward Charybdis, every man could die. If he sailed toward Scylla, only some would. Odysseus chose Scylla. He did not tell the crew what waited above them. If the men saw the monster too soon, they might stop rowing or turn toward the whirlpool. Odysseus ordered them forward. The oars struck the water together. Charybdis began to pull at the sea. The ship tilted toward the widening circle. The men rowed away from it and moved closer to the cliffs. Odysseus searched the rocks. He carried his weapons, hoping he might fight what was coming. But Scylla attacked before he could see her clearly. 6 long necks shot down from the cliff. 6 men were torn from their oars. Their hands reached toward the ship as they were lifted into the air. The crew broke apart in panic. Odysseus could do nothing. There was no enemy he could deceive, no knot he could cut, no command that could save the men already taken. He forced the others back to their oars. The whirlpool still pulled behind them. The ship moved through the passage. The cries of the 6 men faded above the cliffs. Odysseus had chosen the path. Some of his men had died, so the rest could live. It was the correct decision. That did not make it merciful. The ship escaped the passage and returned to open water. Odysseus had passed the Sirens by defeating his own judgment before it failed. Scylla and Charybdis gave him no such victory. There had been no clever escape, only a decision. The ship continued toward Ithaca with 6 fewer men,